All right, we're live.
Raj, you're the vice chair, so
Kidding.
enterprise. I knew you weren't paying attention when we had that officer election. So I need you to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to take a roll call. Just have to say meeting's called to order.
Let's call the meeting REAC. Right?
Yes.
Call to order.
Okay, and for roll, okay, Mark Geller, Peg Zugaby.
Yeah.
Raj Amar.
Yeah.
Okay, we do have a quorum. Okay. Okay, we have no action items. We have no new business. We have no old business. We do have a treasurer's report. And if you were look at the treasurer's report, really the only items on it are our typical monthly bills of our bookkeeper and our compliance person. I don't know if there's any questions about that. Mark, just to aside, okay, yeah, Heidi, I'm going to let you kind of do the sub commentary to Mark to kind of walk you through what we're doing and when. Again, I don't know if there's any questions about the financials for October for REAC. If not, then I would ask if someone could make a motion to accept the financial report.
I'll make that.
Okay, Peg.
I'll second.
Okay. All right. And with that, I will read the minutes, which is that we were called to order at 11:04. There was no action items, no new business, no old business. The board reviewed the treasurer's report. The treasurer's report was adopted, and that is it. And I guess someone wants to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Now that's not our typical meeting. That's not the big meeting. That was like this little sub meeting. It's gonna say easiest sport you've ever been on.
We just want you to get acclimated.
So yeah, and Mark, what that is, just as a point of explanation, Rockland Economic Assistance Corp. I think we talked about it very briefly. It was established as to be able to provide incentives for nonprofits like bond financing and other things. We have to have that meeting every month because we do review the financials, but it really, very rarely, unless there's a project, we do that, get it out of the way. Now we're going to go into the IDA meeting, which is a little bit more obviously involved. We did have a REAC project last month. Okay, with that said, I guess, Raj, if I could ask you to call the IDA meeting to order.
I'll call the idea.
All right, and I'll call roll again. Mark Geller, Peg Zugaby, Raj Amar.
Yep.
Okay. The first item on business is we do have some folks from, as you recall, we provided a scholarship, to establish a scholarship for RCC, and they would like to introduce the student. So, Heidi, I'll invite you to invite them in.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome to join.
No, I hope they don't because of the crust.
Hi, good morning.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning. So, yep, this is RCC. I will let them introduce their staff. So we have our recipient and some of the administration from RCC.
Hi, I'm Yvonne Rosario Quitos. I'm the Director of Career Readiness and Success at RCC. And actually, I've just started working at RCC about 2 months now.
Sure. Sandra Blackman, I'm the Director of Workforce Innovation and Industry Partnerships at RCC. So overseeing all of our non-credit side, micro-credentials, and community education. So I met Heidi through working with the Workforce Development Board, and we started this conversation. So I'm so excited to see it come to fruition.
Yes. Hi, I'm Jessica Galan. I am the Senior Career Navigator here at RCC. I oversee internships, off-campus employment, and career advising. And then right here we have our student, our intern.
Shira African. Yeah, I'm the student at RCC. I'm going for a liberal arts degree with a focus in business.
And Shira is actually interning at Upscale Equity, and it's a non-paid internship, so we really appreciate the scholarship for her.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing?
Yeah, so I work with the owner of the company. I basically create a lot of digital ads for her and marketing flyers. I also helped her rebrand her logo, and we added a slogan and created like a new name and look. Yeah, and I'm putting together welcome packages for new clients and open houses to put like to show her company at like real estate open houses. Yeah, a lot of things.
Are you doing your internship for credit, or it's not for credit?
It is.
It's for credit. Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
Well, you know what? Good luck, kid.
Yeah, wonderful. No,
She's also
we're-
starting her own business.
Good for you.
Do you want to tell them a little bit about it?
Sure. It's I'm partnered with another person in it. It's called Tomorrow's Tutors. We're like the in between. Basically, we have a parent reach out to us looking for a tutor, and we set them up with a good qualified tutor to help their needs.
So you're good at what you do. Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, we're thrilled that we can actually help, be a part of that and just even in a small way. And we wish you the very best of luck. And we love to hear updates about how you're doing and the whole team, because I know one of our goals is that we would love to expand our role as far as working with tomorrow's, the workers of tomorrow, and you guys are the avenue to help make that happen. So
Thank you so much.
I know, again, best of luck and thank you for coming in. And it's lovely to, be able to put a face to a name and hear about what you're doing.
Who did you replace?
His name, what was his
George.
name? George, I forget his last name. But yeah, we have.
No, not yours.
He was there, their position was open for a few months, so he was there last year until about March of this year, so.
But we're totally reimagining career services and really helping students to develop their career competencies and provide professional development and really thinking about not just helping them find an internship, but really helping them develop their career and being career ready when they're graduating or transferring. I'm not sure if you can, if you plan on going to senior college or not, but yeah, so we're very excited.
And thank you, Heidi. This is great.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Wonderful.
Great program. Thank you. Congratulations.
Good luck, kid.
And thank you again, this is.
All right,
Thank
you.
you. So good seeing everyone.
Talk soon. Okay, thank you.
Tim is here.
You okay?
We're moving these meetings to Suffolk. That's it.
As our chairman, Crash Riley.
The weirdest thing is, 30 seconds after the accident, who was the first person I called? Steve. Is that warped or what?
Yeah.
You must have hit your end.
You okay?
Yeah.
I'm sure you shook up.
We
Yeah.
got Dr. Gill in the house.
Yeah, there you go. The poor kid was 19 years old.
That's enough.
The cop, there was a female cop, gave him a hug because he was about to cry.
Oh.
He T-boned me. He came.
Oh,
Yeah.
he wasn't a fender bender.
No, he did some damage.
He's fine too.
Pardon me?
He's fine too.
Yeah, yeah, just
Were you able to drive the car here or is it?
because he caught the back passenger's door and the back panel, but he missed the wheel. And then the front of his car, he's gotta get towed.
Oh, wow.
He had a van, but here we are.
Wow.
It's metal.
Yeah.
That's why you have insurance.
Thank God you're, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim, get me more.
Yeah, your neck doesn't look so good.
It's just,
We are on tape.
yeah.
That's right.
The worst part is
Never
the
mind.
inconvenience now, going through the rigmarole.
Oh, that's.
Getting
a shame.
my
Oh, it's
poor
a
wife,
hassle.
she's gonna have to go through all of that. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Was he on the way to school or what?
He was driving a Rockland electric
Oh,
truck, George Fanshaw, who I know the owner.
oh.
So I told him, tell George to call me. I felt bad, the kid, he started there 2 months ago.
Oh.
Yeah, it was,
It's not- oh, poor kid.
No, thank God you're fine.
Yeah, thank God he is
Yeah,
fine.
We all walk
Yeah.
away, so,
That, thank God, that's what, like you say, it's only battle.
yeah, I mean,
It could all be repaired.
Most importantly, you missed only like the first 5 minutes of the board
Yeah,
meeting,
and
so.
anytime, so I have to call the roll.
Okay.
And you caught that was the nice part.
All right.
Okay, I guess we can continue the meeting. First item of business is we have a new project involving, it's an inducement resolution for 63 Maple LP, which is an affordable housing project in Haverstraw. We have Andrew here. If you want to give everybody kind of a quick, 5-minute tour of what's happening,
Yeah.
we'll go from there.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Andrew Jermansky. I'm Senior Vice President of Real Estate Development and Property Management at Westhab. Westhab is a nonprofit, affordable housing developer, community service provider. In our history, we've often been focused in Westchester. We're the largest affordable housing developer, community service provider in kind of the Hudson Valley. But definitely in Westchester. We've recently been working a lot in New York City as well. We moved up to Rockland for our first project here, kind of because the village came to us. They've been looking at this site, off of Maple Avenue for about 1.5 years before we ever entered the picture. But they identified this site as a potential affordable housing development site. They were working with somebody else. They ultimately got to us. We started talking to them probably like early this year, maybe late last year. We went back and forth with some different concepts, and ultimately we landed on kind of what you have in front of you. We executed a 99-year, I guess, an agreement to enter into a 99-year ground lease with them early in the year. We're in the entitlement phase right now, but the project is expected to be approximately 79 units. It's a 2-story parking garage under 4 stories of residential. The 2 stories of parking, one is for the residents, and that meets the zoning requirements, and the lower level of parking is actually for the community. The existing site is basically like a community parking lot, so we're basically replacing what's there, and then adding residential in the parking above it. 100% of the units will be affordable to low-income residents. That's 60% of the average median income or below. There'll be 20 units that will be supportive for formerly homeless tenants, and that decision was made in concert with the village and also with the Rockland COC. I guess we're really excited about this project in general. It's not often that we get to work with a village that really wants affordable housing as much as we do. They have made kind of every step of the way. They've made this process as easy as could be. We entered into an agreement for a ground lease basically for $1 with no ongoing payments. That was so that we can make this project as financially feasible as possible. We have created we are in the process of creating a new zoning overlay. So we didn't create customized zoning for this particular site, but we created a set of conditions that will work for this site that will also hopefully produce additional affordable housing developments in the future. That's a very unique way of doing zoning. It's kind of my first experience working in kind of that nature, but we think it's kind of an excellent way of handling producing more affordable housing in a village that really needs investment. So anyway, we're really excited about this. I did bring a couple boards so you can kind of see.
Yeah, I'm trying to picture where it is. Is it like where the old police station is?
It's next to the fire station.
It's next to where the
Maple Avenue, which is
yeah,
off
it's
of,
next
like
to
off
where
of
the old
Fairmont.
fire.
Yeah,
And
the fire station's still there.
yeah.
You know where
So-
Dale's used to be? Remember Dale's Tire?
Mhm.
Right there,
Across
right across from there, yeah.
From Luke's Auto Body and all that.
So, I mean, this is the project
It
in
just
general.
doesn't seem like big enough for this big of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a little bit bigger probably than what you have throughout the rest of the village, but I think the village realized that and is supportive of that. It's not much bigger than some of the other buildings around it. There's a 4-story building basically right back here. This
I
actually
guess
is a little-
maybe it's, I'm just not spatially that good. And
Yeah,
so
I
that
mean-
looks so big for that lot. That's why I didn't think I was in the right spot.
Yeah, I mean, we think it's appropriately sized.
No,
It
I'm
is
just
a little
saying.
bit, no, listen, it's a little bit bigger, but, in general, this is kind of what it takes to finance affordable housing.
Yeah.
In kind of the the mold that we are required to finance it as, using, tax exempt bonds and tax credits through, New York State Homes and Community Renewal, the state housing finance agency. So, anyway, what you have, you have an entrance off of Maple. There's about a 10-foot elevation difference between Maple Street and West Street. So you have one entrance in the community parking lot coming off of Maple. You have a separate entrance coming off of the West Side Street. On that side of the street, you actually have one level of parking and 4 stories of residential above it. There's 4 stories of residential with the 79 units. But one of the things that we really try to do in our buildings is create like an amenity-rich building. So we have on-site laundry. We have then upstairs, rooftop, indoor, outdoor amenity space for the tenants. This outdoor space will actually be overlooking the mountains that surround Haverstraw. We think it's also going to be able to see the water down the Hudson River. So we think it's really an amazing space for the tenants. The older housing stock in Haverstraw really doesn't have any amenity, rich buildings at all. It's much older housing stock. The rents are actually, much higher for a much lower quality apartment than what we'll be providing. And I think what you'll also get is, you can see it up top, this is probably, when it's all said and done, going to be the most sustainable, energy efficient building in Rockland County. Not necessarily just because that's what we're doing, but because the state has imposed requirements upon affordable housing developers that our developments achieve, anywhere between 15 and 30% above building code. So we'll have an extremely robust building envelope with continuous insulation along the exterior. We'll have triple pane windows. All of our systems will be electric, and they'll be run within the building. So it's all VRF systems and ERVs for energy recovery. All of that is run, from the rooftop through the roof, but nothing is run on the building exterior. So we're controlling all of the energy, all of the air that goes in and out of the building, and thus kind of like controlling what energy is produced and consumed within the building. Because of the larger building envelope as well, we'll probably be able to have a 100 kW solar system, which we think will offset about 20 to 30% of our overall electric consumption for the building. And in a building that's all electric, it has a much higher electric consumption than a typical building.
And you're doing geothermal as well, right?
We are looking into it right now. The site has been considered a potential site for geothermal. There is a pilot happening in the village of Haverstraw. I don't think we're going to be able to tag on to that. No, the Chairfact, they have a separate, there's like a thermal utility network company that has kind of pitched the village on doing, so this is my thing. So they've pitched them on doing 2 different geothermal loops within the downtown of the village. We were talking to them about potentially joining that and adding kind of like a tag-along geothermal loop, but there's a huge upfront cost to geothermal, in terms of driving piles down into the ground, and then creating the geothermal loop. There's a huge federal tax incentive right now, but there's no guarantee that it's going to be there forever. So we'll have to kind of figure out our timing, and then we'll figure out whether or not we think that's.
Well, you're just gonna put, I guess, once you drill it, you loop your water, right?
Yeah, but there's a big upfront cost to drilling. I mean, you're gonna we're gonna hit rock. I think our
That could be.
borings show hitting rock in.
We're Rockland,
Yeah.
I keep forgetting that.
I mean, so the geothermal works better when you have rock, but it's a huge cost to drill.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do need like 400 or 500 borings to 500 feet to make a geothermal system work. Anyway, this is the project. What we're asking for is a pilot agreement for, I guess, like a real estate tax agreement. We're not asking for a mortgage recording tax or sales tax exemption. Affordable housing projects, because we use an HDFC as part of the ownership change, are eligible for both of those completely separately. So we're really just asking for a real estate pilot agreement. I know we have to go negotiate all of that with the tax authorities themselves. So I guess this is just the beginning of the process. But we're here to get an inducement, and, we've been working with Steve now, I think we met with him a year ago. Everything that we've been doing here in Rockland so far has been, Rockland has been very supportive. The county is providing, funds. The village of Haverstraw has been very open, and hopefully we'll continue that process with the IDA and the taxing authorities as well.
Just for your information, Peg is actually on the North Rockland School Board.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
and I'm,
recuse myself.
she may choose to recuse herself on this, only not for any negative reason,
Yeah,
just because
not
then it
because-
allows her to participate on that discussion. She can't do both. So, but I will take the words out. I know it poised out of Peg's mouth. I'm going to say, I recommend that we get the school board on board as far as having this. We've talked a little bit about that, as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get them engaged in the process. And we'll talk more about coordinating those next steps.
Yeah, no problem.
I see you've got a couple of grants.
Yeah, so, yeah. Is there a question, or I'm happy to talk to it?
Where are they from?
So, all affordable housing projects which have restricted rents and restricted incomes, we all use tax credits and we use some form of conventional loan. Every project essentially has some form of gap filler. Rockland County is providing $2.6 million in 2 different pots of federal funds. We've also applied to ESD, Empire State Development, for Mid-Hudson Momentum Fund financing, and we're pretty hopeful that we're going to get that. So that would actually close out our financing and provide us with all the funds needed to make the project.
There's no HUD money in this?
Well, the 2 county funds are basically HUD money.
Okay, is prevailing wage involved?
No.
Okay.
But we are aware of the ideas, prevailing wage.
And the labor policy.
Yeah, so we'll account for that.
Is there any other questions?
Sure.
So I guess somebody,
I just think it's a wonderful idea that with all of the housing we've done in Haverstraw, we finally don't want this affordable housing.
unless there's a need. I guess with that said, someone
I'll move the motion.
make a motion in a second. Okay. Mark is on the scoreboard. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna call roll. Mark Geller. Aye. Peg Zugby. You're gonna recuse yourself. Raj Amar.
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Okay. So you're induced. Obviously, what we'll do is we'll coordinate it. We have to have a public hearing. We'll probably have that down in Village Hall. We'll talk, give you a heads up. You're not required to attend it, but you're welcome to, of course.
Yeah.
And then we'll just go from there. We'll talk more about getting the pilot discussions going with municipalities. I assume you probably have already had some preliminary chats with the village and mayor.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked with him
Yeah.
not specifically about, any amounts or anything like that. But obviously, we've kind of figured, all right, let's get the inducement out of the way and
Yep.
start negotiating.
It's the right way to go, get that.
Two questions after the fact.
Yeah.
When do you intend on starting?
So we expected, or we anticipate an approval of the zoning overlay in December. My expectation is that it'll take somewhere between 3 or 4 months to get site plan approval. The goal has always been to be ready to close by the time we submit for tax credits in approximately June, July. If we get awarded on the first try, we would maybe go shovel in the ground in December, maybe March of next year.
And are you displacing anybody with all this?
No, it's an existing parking lot.
Okay.
So, obviously, the community that parks there now is gonna have to find a different place to park. The village is accounting for that in other parking areas, and then we're basically replacing the parking through the development.
Good luck.
That's such a great site.
And
Thank you.
Just for your information, because they said on the school board, we don't have any information that this is going to occur, so, I would advise you
We
to
should
have a
present as well, yeah.
conversation.
I mean, one
So
of the-
that, it's just for your benefit.
Yeah.
Because that will set you up on a better foot.
Cool.
Because
Happy to do that.
it just doesn't sit well with that municipality when we're brought in at the last minute and then, quick sign here because we need to do it because we're going to the bank or we're going to
Yeah.
close and we need you to sign right now.
We have some time, and that's why we're trying
Right.
to start early. And one thing to know about real estate agreements for affordable housing projects is, obviously, we want to get as low as possible, but getting as low as possible isn't like to make more money, it's to be able to take on more debt to be able to build the project in the first place. So, we're looking for something that is reasonable, but also very consistent over a long term where, our debt is 30-year debt. We're just looking for something that's very stable over those 30 years so that we don't have some sort of increase that would throw our operating expenses out.
Yeah, I'm just saying, a lot of the builders think of the municipalities as the towns and the villages, not the school districts, so just for your benefit.
And we'll coordinate, make sure. Well,
Good
thank
luck.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate the time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's gonna be nice.
Yeah, it's gonna be wonderful. project,
It
like you
is
said.
just a project.
Yeah. Okay, the next item of business is the authorizing resolution for Regeneron.
I'm good.
Yeah.
How are you? What are you doing out there? You're all over the place.
Well, welcome.
Thank you, thanks for having us.
I think you've already met all the board, and so we, for Regeneron, we had a public hearing. There was no public comment. I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, there was no,
No, for Regeneron, no.
there was
No
nothing.
public comment.
Right, so we checked that off, so there's nothing to respond to on that regard. And the board has an authorizing resolution. But since you've come all the way over here, maybe you want to give us an update on where you guys are at and things, if you'd like, to the extent that you'd like to.
Sure. My name is Janet Giras. I'm a partner with Shell with Helen Weingarten Weiss Whitaker here on behalf of Regeneron. Dale Fanning also with Regeneron. Thanks for having us. We didn't expect to have to say anything today.
No, and I'm not putting you on the spot.
But no, everything is moving forward. We anticipate actually closing on the property on Friday. And we are hoping to be able to close with the IDA as soon thereafter as possible.
Yep.
We've spent the last several months working with the taxing jurisdictions.
Yeah, you don't have to, I think that we don't need to go into the discussion. It's still, let's say fluid, for technically it's, yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot where I'm not looking for you to, go into any detail.
I've learned to have over the years, and that's where we are. So we're looking forward to being here in Rockland.
Are you gonna lease back to Avon for a while, from what I understand?
Yes.
Yes, so I think it's through April.
Through April, Avon, I think it's more or less to let them move out.
Yeah.
In an earlier process. We're trying to do work inside the building as they're doing it, but we can't disrupt the business.
It's gonna be some garage sale, huh?
They're digging most of it. We don't want most of it. There's certain things we do want, but most of the equipment doesn't meet our business needs, so.
That
Mark-
case of skin so solid.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Mark, just so for your clarification, this is, the Avon was leaving, so you're familiar with this, and Regeneron. So from an economic development perspective, this is a home run for the village, the town, the county, the region. So,
How many folks are gonna have there?
Right now, it's planned to be 230, because it is lab space, so limited how many people you can squeeze into a lab. But I think the building could grow to 450 over time, but we committed to 350 right now. So.
If you need more space, Pearl River, the old Pfizer plant, there's plenty of room for you in there if you wanna expand over
should be
there.
publicly. Like,
Good to know.
But, all right, so with that said, again, the authorizing resolution, again, public hearing is held, there's no public comment, so I guess really if anyone wants to make a motion on that matter, okay? Do we have a second? Okay, and call the roll. Mark Geller. Peg Zugby.
Yes.
Raj Amar.
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Okay, You're authorized.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
Good luck.
it. And, look forward to being here.
Yep, and like I said, we'll talk, we obviously have, the closing process and all that stuff. I know councils are working on it, so.
Diligently, we're, ready on that. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
We
Thank you so
appreciate the
much.
support. from the
Yes,
academic-
thank you.
On behalf of the company.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
Good to see you.
Have happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah.
It's early, but
Thank you.
see you before you know it.
Okay, moving on. The Haverstraw Group, just for clarification, this is a housing project that is going in the Letchworth property of Haverstraw. There was a public hearing held. There was one attendee, a woman who really was asking more questions about IDA process than about the project. She made a few observations about the project, but nothing that was necessarily pro or anti. But again, just wanted to understand what our role was. And that was it. So I guess, again, unless there's any other questions, again, we're looking at an authorization. So if someone wanted to make a motion on that.
Can I go back to recusing myself since I'm on the public?
Yes, as long as we have the, yes, you can, you approve the inducement, but you can recuse yourself
Since it's
if you
gonna
like.
be back to a pilot again,
Yes.
So,
So,
and it'll pass anyway.
okay. And Mark, just to clarify, the obvious is since Peg is on the North Rockland School Board, they will be going before the North Rockland School Board for pilot agreement, and she can't participate, she can't vote on this and vote on that because there's a conflict.
What was the project?
This is a market rate housing project up on the Letchworth property in Haverstraw.
Single family.
Yeah, all single family, 1 and 2 bedroom, market rate housing. The town has been pushing this hard. They want this, for that property.
Luxury.
So from an economic development standpoint, it's going on property that was town-owned property that now will be going on the tax rolls.
Right.
So from an economic development standpoint, it's a great project. Okay, so if someone wants to make a motion, oh, Tim, you did. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. I'll call the roll. Mark Geller.
Aye.
Peg Zugaby. Recused. Raj Amar.
Yes.
Tim Riley. Yeah. Okay. Okay, next, Oak Tree Apartments.
Is this a pilot again?
This is a pilot as well. Yes, this is another,
This is the shop, right?
this is the one over by ShopRite. This is also market rate housing. 1 2 bedroom.
House structure.
This is the same thing for me.
Yes, you can do the same thing on that. Just as an aside, Mark, just because I think it's appropriate. Until somewhat recently, the IDA had stayed away from housing projects. We did affordable housing, but now we took a look at it and there's a distinct absence of housing, market rate housing, 1 2 bedroom, things like that. Out there, it's becoming like a tsunami that's brewing of lack of housing for, young professionals, young couples, things that we all know. So earlier this year, the board reconsidered and now has adopted the policy of participating in housing projects, provided that they have the support of the town and the school and things like that as well. So now you're seeing this flurry. And from a general perspective, projects that may or may not have been financially viable now are suddenly becoming viable. And again, I don't want to speak on behalf of the whole board, but some of the motivation for us getting into that game was we could have just said, nope, we're not going to get in that game at all and just let it develop, not develop. But because it's such an important part of the lifeblood of the community, we are in it. And because of our the parameters, while we give incentives, we're also giving conditions to those incentives. It kind of puts guardrails around it to ensure that the project, in fact, is developed, goes forward, and maintains as designed, or there's recapture provisions. Like someone couldn't get approval for a 1 or 2 bedroom along the lines and shift it into something that nobody wants without us being subject to recapturing those benefits. So this is giving you a quick snapshot of it to give you a context. So with Oak Tree, we had a public hearing. There was no public comment. So again, I would ask if anybody wanted to make a motion. Okay, make a motion and a second. Okay. Okay, Mark Geller.
Aye.
Peg Zugaby, Raj Amar,
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Okay. 3-0-1. Okay. We're doing an amending resolution for Cardiovascular Research Foundation. Just as a little background, this was a project, a bond project we had done many years ago.
This is down in Orangeburg?
Down in Orangeburg. They do research, they're a nonprofit, they do research on pigs, believe it or not, because that's a very close.
That's how I remember the pigs.
Right. I gotta be careful now. I can't be spewing medical stuff now because I've got marking on the room side. But anyway, they do research on pigs because of the cardiovascular elements of it. They can translate into, testing. They've been there. They've been great neighbors down there. They've done everything they said. With that said, I'll let you guys talk about what this amending is going to be.
Yeah,
about.
we've done several modifications on this project. There was a while where they were going through financial difficulties. There is now a single holder of all the bonds, and they've negotiated some financial covenants quite some time ago. They're coming back again. Things seem to be improving. They're releasing some of the more onerous requirements. So this is a minor amendment. There's no real substantive change. It's just going to make the CRF's reporting requirements to their bondholders a little less onerous. So we think this is everybody. All the sides agrees. The CRF likes it. The sole bondholder likes it. And we typically are user-friendly as far as these requests go.
How many bondholders were there before they went down to one?
What?
How many bondholders were there before they went down to one?
Well, we're going about 10 or 15 years back, so I can't answer that question. The bonds were initially publicly offered, so there were probably quite a number of bondholders. Then they converted, the bonds were initially variable rate. After 3 years, rates were favorable, so they converted to fixed rate. And there were a few bondholders. Now we're down to one. And that all happened during the economic difficulties where a single investor said, we'll work with you.
Unless there's any questions, want to make a
So they're just basically refinancing.
No, they're not changing anything about the bonds. The interest rate, the term, all the bond terms are staying the same.
So we're just changing the name of the bond.
We're just changing some reporting requirements about the financial statements and how, they, under the current transaction, they have to have $1 million equity funded reserve. This is releasing that reserve so that the company can use it for more useful purposes. So nothing, if this were a change in the bonds, we'd have difficulty doing it through the IDA because the IDA doesn't have any power to offer other financial benefits. That would have to be done through REAC. So this is just a kind of an amendment to an already existing bond deal, which is staying the same.
I'll move it.
Okay.
No second.
Okay. Mark Geller. Peg Zugaby.
Yes.
Raj Amar.
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Aye.
Okay. CRF is amended. Okay.
I just don't want to tap the equity reserves, but does that implicate their financial status? That they want to tap into the $1 million reserve? I don't know.
They'll have $1 million more free cash to use. How it affects, I'm not the guy, I can't advise on financial statements.
Next item is adopting or amending our pilot fee schedule to what was agreed to and discussed at the last meeting. This is just formalizing it. That just to recap it, I won't go into what we had, but the pilot fee schedule now will be based on 1% of the projected fees to be paid during the duration of the pilot, capped at $400,000. I know we bounced back and forth a little bit, but the board was pretty adamant that they wanted the 400.
Yeah,
I think I whittled you down to 400
Yeah,
from.
he negotiated us down.
Listen, it's the number that you guys feel comfortable with.
It's.
We used to, Mark, just as a point of explanation, we had a more complicated formula that based it on assessments and things. But because we're not bound by any one structure of pilots, we were finding more and more that some of our pilots that were being negotiated, the formula for our fee didn't match up. You couldn't apply our formula to the structure of the pilot. So we've taken a pilot schedule that just basically says whatever you're paying in projected taxes, it's 1% of that, and we're capping it. We had a debate, over the past few weeks or a couple meetings over what that cap should be. And it's really kind of a number that whatever the board, at the end of the day, is what number the board feels good about. Right now, I think we had it at 4. I was on the impression.
How often does it have to be hit the cap?
Very. We've done, we've looked back when we came up with this. I don't think any of them would have hit the cap, but we may have a couple that may hit the cap. The ones that would hit the cap would be 20, 25-year pilots of major projects where you're talking about millions of tax. I mean, where it would have been ludicrous what the fee would have been. 99.9% of our pilots won't even come close to the cap.
I'm fine with the 400.
Okay.
If that'll put this to bed, then I'll
Okay. All right. So are you making the motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I can second it.
Okay.
500 be better, but.
All right. And I guess I'm rushing with, I'm not throwing you on that, like I said, we're going through these things quicker without you knowing all the history. I don't want you to feel pressure that you have to vote. If you'd rather just recuse yourself on something like that, don't hesitate either. All right, Mark Geller. Peg Zugby.
Yes.
Raj Amar.
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Okay.
Today, just to add a follow-up. This policy will now be reflected in your application, so.
Yes.
You'll have to update the online application. And it will also be in your uniform tax exemption policy, although we don't, that typically requires taxing jurisdiction consent, but that really applies to how it affects the actual tax funds we're giving to the companies. The fees, we believe are, don't need to go through that full review process.
Yeah, not for utility fees.
So, okay, moving on. I'm going to leave it to you guys. These next 3 involving Northern Riverview are kind of linked. They will require separate votes for each. But if you guys want to talk about them kind of as a whole, what we're doing here, and then we'll individually.
Isn't this the one that they were going to take the old place and redo it?
Yeah, that's exactly up the one up in I guess up in Haverstraw, 9W.
Yeah, it's across Heaven Age, right?
Yeah, up by well, no, that's different.
No, this is the
Across from like
one,
the quarry and
By the
this is, yeah. This is
Yeah,
overlooking the Hudson.
it's down 9W where kind of built into the side of the hill on 9W there. But anyway, I'll leave it to you guys to explain.
By the new
By the
exit down to.
Yes.
Yeah,
right, the
right
one they
across
built
from-
for Admiral's Cove, right?
Do you have to recuse if the hospital refers?
Yes, you can absolutely recuse yourself on that one.
Then I should.
Is it a pilot involved?
Healthcare center.
Is there a pilot?
They're
They
terminating
mentioned
the
them,
pilot.
they're all 3 are coming to
Okay.
Or they're going to the new one after that, yeah. They're terminating the old one to go to the new one.
This is an older project. I think it was from maybe 2001.
I thought it was 1999, so.
And it was the old type where the IVA took title to the property. And now they've split into 2 separate entities, assisted living at Northern Riverview and Northern Riverview Healthcare Center. And they've been in the process of negotiating a pilot with the village and the town of Haverstraw and the school district. They were originally induced on this sometime in 2021. There's been a lot of disentangling all the different entities, but they finally have got everything straight, and they have signed the proposed pilot agreement. And I think the driving force behind this is that they were behind in their taxes, and there was a tax certiorari case pending in the Supreme Court. So this would globally resolve all of their outstanding tax arrearages and move forward with the pilot. So we have a resolution to terminate the old one, deed the property back to them, and then the authorizing resolution to enter into the straight lease agreement, just for the purposes of the pilots.
Yeah, just to figure out.
There's two.
Yeah, two.
Right, because it's split.
Yeah, back like 20 plus years ago, IDAs used to take title to allow for passage of benefits. We don't do that anymore. Now it's a lease backs, it's head lease, so we don't take title. So a lot of these older projects that we've induced or they were authorized back then, or they had, the IDA has title to it. So even like when it came to, I believe, the Avon property had title to it. So we have to kind of unwind that going forward. So that's part of the reason why we're doing this today.
So Mark has to, like, because the hospital has dealings with them, you want to recuse yourself. Peg, you had probably voted on this originally.
Yeah,
From the school side or from?
I think so.
I don't know, I guess if she was to vote, well, we need three positive votes.
Yeah, you need 3 votes.
And you have, so could we, Peg, would you be comfortable voting on this and recusing on the school side?
When I vote on it next time.
I guess, yeah, because all they're gonna do is vote on a, pilot.
Right.
The fact that I have voted on it already.
I think previously that's not an issue.
Yeah, that was.
Rudy, have they already negotiated with the municipalities?
It's already signed by all the municipalities.
Yeah, so the fact that I voted on that.
Did she still vote? Oh, she
Can I
voted
vote
on
on
that.
it
Did she
again?
vote on this?
I think it's a necessity at this point. I mean, there's a rule necessity too, because if you're recusing yourself in order to get this forward, you're
I have to
you
vote
have to vote.
How could they do it without our, without our?
Well, we
office?
haven't signed it yet.
No, Mike,
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they went in.
they just went ahead of us, so to speak, okay.
But they were,
I mean, you know,
they
So
were
I
reduced
can
in
legally vote on
2021, and they were authorized.
Oh, okay.
But it's lapsed.
I'm just gonna go.
The language and then the.
I believe.
I know the rule well. We had another meeting in place.
I'll do it if you say I can.
But until we sign it, it means nothing. So, okay. So.
Lino says I can.
I say she can vote.
If Lino says you can. All right, so I'm gonna kind of go through these relatively quickly. The first one is the terminating resolution. Do we have a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Okay. Mark, you're just going to recuse yourself on all of this, so I'm just gonna assume that, so I don't need him to say that every time, right?
Correct. You
Peg-
can recuse for all 3.
Right. Peg Zuggby? Raj Amar?
Yes.
Tim Riley?
Yes.
Okay. The authorizing resolution for Northern Riverview, do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mark again is gonna recuse. Peg Zuggby?
Yes.
Raj Amar?
Yes.
Tim Riley?
Yes.
Okay, final authorizing resolution for assisted living. Motion,
Yes.
second.
Yes.
Okay, Mark will recuse, and Peg Zuggby,
Yes.
Raj Amar,
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Okay. Guys, I know there's a lot of pieces, so thank you. We're moving through these things. The final resolution, and I know this has been a discussion.
That's gonna be fun. Let's go.
All right. So,
Buckle up.
do you want to quickly go into executive session to
Yes.
discuss this?
I think so.
Okay, and then I'll give you the context of what we're talking about, Mark.
Yes. to speak
So I need
with
a
our
motion to
lawyer,
go into executive session.
To speak with our counsel.
Right, to speak with counsel.
I'll move that.
Okay,
I'll second.
second.
Okay, we're live.
Okay, so we're back into open public session. It's 12:21 PM at the meeting. The matter before the board at this point is consideration of a resolution regarding Admiral's Cove 2. The resolution involves the revoking the authorization for incentives for Admiral's Cove 2. The premise of that revocation is that despite Admiral's Cove signing and agreeing to the labor policy required 80% local labor, they have not met those conditions over the course of many months, since even earlier this spring. We've had reports that are, from our compliance consultant, that they have not met the 80% threshold, and based on that and numerous notices to the applicant that they were not compliant, the board now is considering revoking the authorization for the additional incentives.
I would also add, look, our own consultants, just you may want to ask what they discussed as well, in terms of the compliance issue.
Right. In short terms, Loki Brilla said that they have, in simple terms, that Admiral's Cove 2 is not trying. In fact, they're going in the wrong direction. They've consistently been at 38% of compliance. It's even dropped since then. So with that said, I guess if someone wants to make a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Roger Marr. Okay, I'm going to call roll. Mark Geller.
Aye.
Peg Zugby.
Yes.
Roger Marr.
Yes.
Tim Rockland.
Yes.
Okay, motion's passed. Okay. New business. I know I'm going to make this quick. Low-key labor reports, just to let you know, they continue to monitor. Our projects all seem to be on track, with one exception, of course, and they're fine. They're moving along as planned. On a much lighter note, the holiday party, you've all received invitations. Segue, I'm talking about like lighter note. So a week from tomorrow, Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Do you want to
Thank you, Mark.
grab a sandwich?
No, it's okay. I'm good. Thank you.
Promise you'll come back.
Yeah. They didn't scare them off, I hope.
Thank you.
Next Wednesday, 4 o'clock, 4 to 7. I hope you all can join us. Feel free, and if there's anyone that you feel you'd like to invite or bring, please
We're
let us
also
know.
collecting socks
Oh,
for the
socks.
warming center.
Yes.
Yep. And we're collecting socks for the warming center. So if you're inclined to want to pick up a package of new socks,
Yes.
not old socks.
Yeah, we don't want the old socks.
And finally, just as a note, our intent is, we did this last year, any leftover food, any food that's, in somewhat untouched form, we're going to donate to the
Center for Safety and Change.
Yes. Okay. They were very appreciative last year.
Yes, they're
and we
happy.
coordinated with them that they will expect that again.
Yeah.
So that's that. Before we lose you, I'd like to invite Heidi to give you an update on the small business services. Some great stuff happening there. So I'll turn it to you.
So good. So we had our kickoff meeting. So we're officially in the Small Business Support Service game. The meeting was here November 1st with our 4 participants, Tom Osa from the agency we've hired to do the support services. And it went really well. It was actually, I was trying to be very aware of the time of small businesses and keep it very brief. So it was supposed to be an hour. It actually was a 2-hour meeting, because they just all kind of hit the ground running with this. They were just feeding off of each other, sharing applications and resources and contacts. So I think going forward, that's something, there's obviously a need with these small business owners to do this networking. So I think that's something we might try to incorporate. The program itself is going well. We had we're using a software called Basecamp. And so it's something we all have access to. Like the top is Latin Corner Restaurant, which is in Garnerville on 9W. So these are the goals that he has. Anything with a check mark has already been completed. So it gives me the opportunity to sort of go in and see where everyone's at, offer additional support services if they're working on a goal that we have other resources in the county for. So that's been really helpful. Here is, oh wait, let me, so Latin Corner now has a Facebook presence. They had no online presence before, but Tom's really been working with them to get a Facebook, their menus online. They're working with Grubhub and DoorDash, those services. He's helping set that up so that they can do delivery easier. So I think it's really proving to be a good resource. When we dug down a little further, in the initial conversations with the participants, they were using like social media was their concern. Now that we're digging down into their actual issues, there's an IT component to it as well, as we're digging a little deeper. So we're thinking in the future, maybe supplementing what Tom does with an IT person as well. But so far going really well. So I think all the participants are happy. They were all happy with that first meeting. They all walked away smiling. So that was good news. Some additional things we're doing, we're in talks with Giovanni and BOCES to see if there's a way that we could get involved, of course, with board approval for some of their workforce development programs in a supporting role. So that's, hopefully I'll have an update at the next meeting on those things.
And I'll just add, I mean, I think Heidi's doing a good job of, something that, I think the big difference was we had pretty consistently had said, like we used the phrase, we'd stayed in our lane, but since we've really kind of opened up, we're seeing all these avenues of where we can really integrate into the community, particularly at the workforce, the young workforce. And Giovanni was just another opportunity where they do wonderful work. And Heidi's just doing a great job of making those connections everywhere. So this is, I think we're at the blooming of what's going to be a very significant impact out there.
The brewery that we work with, Two Ladders, who's one of the participants, they were approved for a $40,000 grant from the state. With that, they filled out the application that ourselves and Cheryl Vaughn helped them fill out. We wrote a letter of support, and so they got it. So now they'll be looking to expand. Yeah.
And that's it. So thank you. Yeah, she's doing a great job. And we'll continue to give updates.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for letting us do this.
Yeah. Financials. Again, usual.
Yep. You have them there.
I don't know if there's any questions, anybody?
You need a motion.
Yep, just a motion to adopt the financials.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I guess we could just do an all in favor if everybody's all in favor. Okay, and with that, I will read back the minutes and get you guys out of here, or get you lunch.
I'm gonna bring in lunch.
Okay, bring that in. One last item before I go on, I just want to reconfirm the Albany NYSEDC conference is February 13th and 14th. Kind of comment, a little clueless to have it on Valentine's Day.
I was just going to say.
But we'll all be back well before that for anybody that's concerned. But the good news is they're having it back at the hotel that they always had, which is a much better venue. I just wanted to reach out informally. I know Dan's going, Lino, Rudy. I reached out to Brian. He was going to let me know. Tim, you historically go. Were you planning on wanting to go as well?
Sure.
Anybody else want to go to Albany in February? All right, just want to let you know that's coming up. And then, of course, the Yoda Saga. That's it.
Cooperstown in spring is much more.
Yeah, Cooperstown seems to be much more of an appeal. So, all right, let me read these back quicker. Meeting was called to order at 11:07. Representatives RCC came and introduced themselves, and the recipient of our first scholarship program told us a little bit about the program. Representatives of 63 Maple Avenue, an affordable housing project in Haverstraw, gave an overview of the project following a number of questions. The board made a motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Mark Geller. Vote was 3 approved with 1 recusal, Peg Zugga, because of a conflict due to her position on the Board of Education there. Board consider authorizing resolution for Regeneron. Representatives provided a brief update of the project. Executive Director noted there was a public hearing held. There was no public comment. Motion by Peg Zugby, seconded by Raj Amar. Approved 4-0. Havistra Group project, again, a market rate housing project in on the Letchworth Village property in Havistra. There was a discussion of public comment. There was a public hearing held. There was one attendant who asked more clarifying questions about the IDA process. Motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Mark Geller. Approved 3-0 with Peg Zugby recusing. Oak Tree Apartments project, again, another market rate project in the town of Havistra. Following discussion, motion by Mark Geller, seconded by Tim Riley. Motion passed 3-0 with one recusal, Peg Zugby, due to a conflict. Cardiovascular Research Foundation, there was a amending resolution to existing agreement. Council's provided an overview of the requirement for an amendment. It was noted that there was no additional benefits provided or anything that would affect the base agreement. Motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Peg Zugby. Motion approved 4-0. Discussion regarding the pilot fee schedule. Following discussion, the board adopted what was agreed to at the last meeting. Motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Raj Amar. All in favor, 4-0. Board considered 3 resolutions involving Northern Riverview and assisted living Northern Riverview. First, motion with terminating resolution, approved by Tim Riley, seconded by Raj Amar. Approved 3-0 with one recusal, Peg Zugby, due to her position with the North Rockland School Board. Authorization resolution for Northern Riverview, motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Raj Amar. Approved 3-0 with one recusal, Peg Zugby, due to her conflict of interest, same as before.
No, it's Mark.
Oh, Mark Geller, I'm sorry.
They all were Mark.
Mark Geller recused
Yeah,
because of his relationship with his organization, Ike Hospital's relationship with Northern Riverview. My apologies. Authorizing resolution, Tim Riley, seconded by Raj Amar. 3-0 with Mark Geller recusing due to a conflict of interest. Motion was made by Peg Zugby, seconded by Tim Riley, to go into executive session to discuss legal matters. The board, following that, board came out of discussion at 12:21. Board considered a resolution revoking the authorizing resolution for the Admirals Cove 2 project due to non-compliance of the labor policy. There was a full discussion regarding the particulars of that matter, and a motion was made by Tim Riley, seconded by Raj Amar. The motion was passed 4-0. Board reviewed new business, low-key grill labor report. There was an update regarding the status of projects as far as their compliance. There's an update on the holiday party. Operations Manager Heidi Van Diver provided an update on small business and the ongoing success of the ongoing small business and its impact on the businesses already involved, and talking about new initiatives